Well,
we're back.
Hey, what's up, man?
With another outstanding episode of the Square Table Degenerates. Ladies and gentlemen, the man needs his own introduction, Mr. Tommy Chong. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. My dog's barking at me somewhere. I don't know where he is, but he'll find me.
Okay. Yeah. Did you give your dog treats earlier, or is he good to go?
I hear him barking. I hear you barking, but you can't come in.
You can't come in because you let the dogs out. No way. So the internet says you were born up in Alberta. Now, this was a couple of years back. Now, what's the first thing you remember most about growing up, like, and how did it affect your worldview today?
Well, I was institutionalized real early. I was in a hospital when I was about 3-4 years old, I guess. And then I went from the hospital into an orphanage, the Salvation Army home. And then I was there till I was 5 years old, something like that. And then we moved into the rural, it was almost like a reservation, a native reservation. And I grew up in a, unheated cabin, or bungalow, they call them, bungalows. And so my early training makes me appreciate everything that's gone on in my life now to the fullest extent. Because back in the day, the only entertainment we had, the only reason we had to dress up was to go to Sunday school, church. And so I got a lot of real early good Sunday school training, which is the best spiritual religious training you can get, because you can only twist the minds of a young kid so far,
Right.
You got to keep it real. And then all of a sudden, they get to be an adult, then they can do anything with the mind. But my earliest memories was being able to cope with, there he is, with poverty, but yet not know, because you don't know the difference. Hold on.
All right, no problem. Welcome to everybody in the chat. This is great, right? You got Tommy Chong. This is cool.
There he is.
Hell yeah. So now let me ask you something. When did you guys have? Now this is a long time ago. Did you guys have like a radio not a TV? I'm assuming. Did you even have a radio back then?
Yes, we had radio, and that was the only thing really that we had. And I was the custodian. Once we moved into our little unheated bungalow, the only entertainment we had was a radio. And I would, no one cared about it. I was the only one that really cared. So I would take the radio to bed with me, and listen to, that was my early entertainment, was listening to radio shows, The Shadow and The Life of Riley. There's all sorts of early radio shows that we listened to. But when you grow up like that, every waking moment, you're doing something. If nothing else, you're not. There's no leisure time.
Right.
You're living. You're staying alive. Like you're chopping wood or carrying water. It was a great way to live. Great way to grow up. What kills me is that people spend a lot of money to live like I did.
They do. That's weird. They say camping. People spend all this money to go camping, and it's like
yes.
you just go live in the street. The same thing. Like it makes no sense to me. I get it. But these tents. My boys in the Cub Scouts, and they go camping, and every time it's like I get a new tent. I can't figure out the tent, so it's like $60 for a new tent every time I go, because when I fold it up, it's all fucked up. So every time it's ridiculous. Ridiculous. It was great.
Yeah.
Man. Now what's
it was a great I had a great childhood. Like I said, the only entertainment we had really was Sunday school. And then when I was 8 years old, I was, my brother and I were walking in the country, barefoot, of course, and on a dusty road, and a car pulled up, and a bunch of missionaries were in there. And they say, hey, you boys want to go to summer camp? And we said, hell yes. And so we jumped in the car, got permission from my mother, and went off to camp for 2 weeks. And we camped beside a lake, and that was a big defining moment in my life.
That's awesome, man. Now, what happened first? You smoking weed or you driving a car?
Oh, driving a car. Oh, right,
okay.
Right, yeah. About a year or two. Let's see. I was 16 when I could legally drive, and I got high when I was 17. So I drove a car for about a year before I got obliterated.
What now? Let's go back in classic cars. Because a lot of classic car fans in the chat. What kind of car was it? Do you remember it all?
My dad's 41 straight 8 Buick. Roadmaster.
41 straight 8 Buick. So somebody out there in the chat translate that for me, because I'm not a car speak, and I know
Roadmaster.
Okay, I do remember the Roadmaster. Okay, nice.
And it's a straight 8. I mean, it had straight 8 cylinders all in a row, and back then gas was cheap. I could get around town and have a good time for $1 worth of gas. Every once in a while, I would borrow the car and then go to the service station and say, "Give me $1 worth, please."
Now, did you smoke cigarettes back then, or have you ever smoked cigarettes?
I started smoking cigarettes when I was in Army Cadets. It was actually a requirement. You had to smoke cigarettes and drink beer. I never did like beer, but I finally learned. I started when I was about 15, and I learned in there, I smoked for I smoked for 10 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Cigarettes.
Yeah. Oh, nice. What was
I'm a musician, so musicians.
Kind of hard back then, yeah.
We don't get addicted until you become very wealthy. But when you're starting out, you're so busy playing your instrument that you don't have time to drink or smoke, In fact, I used to light a cigarette, put it at the end of my guitar, and then at the end of the gig, forget I had it, and it would burn those little marks in the guitar.
That's awesome. All right, speaking of guitars, we got a question from Blake TV. He says, what age were you, Mr. Chong, when you first learned how to play guitar?
I was 8 years old when I started playing, because I got good enough so I could play with the fiddle player. He lived across the field from me. In fact, when he built his house, I used to go on the foundation and roller skate on the floor before he put up the walls. And he was a great fiddle player. And his guitar player left town, got a job, and so I could play almost well enough to help. And then he showed me what to do, and then I started playing. It was backup guitar, rhythm guitar. I never did learn lead guitar ever. I dick around with it. And I got good enough so I could do solos and that, but I was never really. It was always a job for me. It was never go take lessons and all that shit.
Guitars cut your fingers up, man. My brother played guitar a lot, and he get these calluses. He used to be able to take like a razor blade and just put it down, and he wouldn't even bleed because it was so callous. It was so disgusting.
Oh yeah. It's tough. That's tough. You have to, and then if you got the strong hands, you got it. And I fucked up my hands, both this hand, both hands. I got this thumb from playing Chuck Berry riffs. And so my thumb, you do that 5 sets a night for a couple of years, and you get deformed,
Heck yeah. All right, we got a question from El Doof. He says, Tommy Chong, any chance of coming over to the UK?
Oh yeah. I was just in Italy. I was there last week.
Oh no, the UK, United Kingdom, not Italy. United Kingdom.
It's close enough. Same
thing. Yeah, same thing. You can go see the Queen and get a pizza in the same day in the United Kingdom of Italy. Okay,
it's over in Schmengi land. That's what we call them.
I just get on the plane wherever they tell me to go. I go. It's hard to remember all these different countries.
Exactly. Lufthansa Airlines. How do you say
Lusitania, I think. Yeah.
Lusitania, whatever. The best airlines, man. Oh, I love it. I love Air France, and I love Swiss Air and all that. Lusitania, ooh, nice.
All right, we got questions coming in hot. They're coming in hot, Chong. All right, let's go here. Robert and Friends, yes. Was that big joint that the Labrador had in it from Up in Smoke?
It was a movie joint, to be honest. It was a movie. It was a prop, because we had to do multi-takes, and we smoked a joint that big. There wouldn't have been a movie. but Cheech and I, we used to smoke little pinners, about this size, in between takes. That's when we smoked the real stuff. But when we were on screen, it was all movie magic.
Oh, that actually was one of my upcoming questions. Let me jump ahead to that one. In the back then, did you hold on? Let me find this. I'm you know how this stuff goes, bro. It's our eyes are old.
Yeah.
You know what? Fuck it. I'll just go to the other questions because they're coming in hot. Let's see. We also got. Did you write any? This is from JV's Hangouts. Did you write any of the songs that performed in the Cheech and Chong movies?
I wrote probably most of the songs. I wrote Up in Smoke for sure. That's mine. I co-wrote Me and My Old Lady. Cheech wrote Mexican Americans. Yeah, I wrote a few. But Up in Smoke, that was my. In fact, we were working on Cheech and Chong's Greatest Hits as a working title for Up in Smoke. And then when I showed up and I played Up in Smoke for Cheech and Lou, then Cheech says, "That's the title of the movie." And we made history.
Nice. We had a question from B Wizzle Aquatics. He asks, "What is your favorite Pokemon?"
Good question. I don't think I have one.
Yeah, Pokemons are like a Chinese or Japanese cartoon, and then they battle each other. I think my son plays it a lot. It's kind of confusing, but I don't know. It's he always asks that. That's a good question for him though. All right, we got from Tony Walker. He asks, or he said, "I love the Hot Ones episode with Tommy. You made Sean look like it was his first time eating hot sauce." Oh, so you were in Hot Ones? Tell us about the Hot Ones now, my man. Tell us about Hot Ones. I didn't see that one. That's awesome.
And listen, when you're stoned, and if you're part Chinese, you'll eat anything with soy sauce. Anything.
We did an episode. Well, we got a bunch of people in the community to do hot stuff, and we did that stupid Pocky One Chip, and that thing was ridiculous, man. It burned. I only lasted like 10 seconds, and I was like, "Fucking, I'm drinking some water." I couldn't deal with it, Tommy. It was ridiculous.
It burns tissue. You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, that hot sauce, that's your antibiotic for hot countries. That's why they eat that stuff. To kill all the.
So if I'm going to like Abu Dhabi, I just take a bunch of Carolina Reaper, and it takes. Okay, makes sense.
That's what you need. It kills all the parasites. All
right, we got a request from Ready to Hit 5. He's the big stoner in the group. He wants us to say we're not worthy. We're not worthy. We're not worthy. We're worthy. We're just having some fun. We're having some fun with it. Now, what led you to leave Canada and come down to the United States?
Well, the States is where the money is. There's nothing in Canada. Forget it. Canada is so far behind, man. They still won't allow me to advertise my own shit up there.
So you can't even advertise weed in Canada?
As a celebrity, I can't say Tommy Chong weed. Yeah, they got a law against it. And Hollywood was down here. This is why I knew somehow I had to be in Hollywood. I didn't know consciously, but the world planned for me. My plan for this. My stay on Earth, it was to go to Hollywood and get really famous doing weed movies. It was no accident.
Well, you succeeded. You succeeded there. You succeeded.
I did.
There.
I did it.
I think it's like you and actually, you're probably the top guy. Woody Harrelson smokes weed. Willie Nelson smokes weed. But let's be real, dude. You're a little bit better. You're a little bit more well known than those guys. I mean,
well, I took it further than they did. I mean, they did it to enhance their profession. You know, like Woody as an actor, Willie as a musician, songwriter. I did it as a comedian with the best partner in the world, talking about our favorite pastime. So it was such a win-win. It was unbelievable. But more than anything, I think I changed people's attitude toward hippies and toward Chicanos. You know, we upgraded all the Chicanos and the hippies. We put them up there. You know, and people are now, they're very proud to say, yeah, I was a hippie. Yeah, and a Chicano. Yeah, I'm a homeboy, you know.
Heck yeah. Yep. All right, we got a question from Tenuous Grip. TG, what's up, buddy? He says, hey, Tommy, got to know how you feel about the quality of weed these days compared to the shitty ditch weed of the 70s.
I'm Tommy Chong, man. I've never had shitty weed in my life. I don't give a, you know, and I grew up in Canada, man. And in Calgary, when I got turned on, I never knew whether I'd ever see another joint again because there was no weed culture there. I was just a jazz musician come up and turn me on, and then after that, I made a joint last a month because in fact, I never did get any more until we went to Vancouver, and then we used to have a dealer come around and sell us pinners. They were $1 a piece, and they were made of marijuana dust. But they would get you high enough to go play a set and have the best time of your life.
Well, you got to make what you got to make do with what you do. All right, we got a question from Partly Cloudy. He says, "Hey, ask Tommy, how many years has he been a grower, and how is it different now?"
Well, now is incredible. Now we've got all the technology. You know, we never had computers and phones and, you know, automatic anything back in the day. You know, in fact, I never grew. You know, my brother grew a plant, and we had friends that grew we grew in British Columbia. BC Bud was like notorious. You know, the Hells Angels would sell BC Bud to the LA crowd for huge bucks, and yeah, that was back in the day. So, you know. What was there a question there? I can't remember.
I don't remember either, actually. Let's go to the next question. All right. Lex Tech says, has Tommy got any films in the pipeline?
Yes, we do. We have a documentary, a Cheech and Chong documentary that we've been working on for 5 years now. And it's due to be screened very shortly. And due to be released very shortly, and it's going to be the start of a whole series of movies dealing with immigration and migration. I feel that's making a movie about something is the greatest advancement of our civilization now, because we can literally do a movie showing the world how they should live, and then have it shown around the world, and then having governments and people look at that movie and go, yeah, that makes sense, you know, and using the natural resources that we have, but not the kind of resources that you got to dig into the ground, you know, and pollute the atmosphere with. Right, but these are resources that grow on top of the ground.
Okay.
And it doesn't pollute anything. In fact, it rejuvenates the soil. And so this is what we got. This is what we're heading toward. And I'm spearheading that whole movement. And what you talk about movies in the pipeline, yeah, I got a movie company in the pipeline. I'm forming my own movie company. Ooh, because nice. Right now there's no movie companies that you can go, you know, Paramount, Universal, you don't need these people. You know, what you need is an idea, and you need people to make that idea work. And there's a lot of people around, you know, equipped to do that. And so, yeah, we're coming into some very exciting times, man.
That's awesome, man. All right, we got some questions are coming in hot. All right, we got a question from Christy. She says, in your opinion, who is the most famous person you have ever smoked with?
Probably George Harrison.
Nice.
I have to say George.
Nice.
The Beatles. I got stoned in front of Ringo. I got stoned in front of John Lennon. But I shared a couple of joints, a couple of very nice moments with George Harrison. And so I haven't smoked with Paul yet. Both Paul knows it, and I know it. It's on our bucket list. And when we ever hook up, man, he's either going to have a joint or I'm going to have one, and we're going to smoke up.
Now I got to ask you about. I actually had a question about General M. So this is a perfect lead-in. Now I got to ask you about this guy. Where were you when you smoked with Lennon, and how was was it just a little bit of time? Was it a long time? Describe the scenario.
Well, Cheech and I had just signed with Lou Adler with Old Records. We just had our first hit, which was Dave's Not Here. And so Lou had a party at his house. It was like, I think it was pre-Grammys. Or there was some reason to have a party there because the who's who of rock and roll was there. There was the Stones, Mick and the boys were all there, and John Lennon, and just Jack Nicholson, just a whole Rod Stewart. They're all at this party. And so when I walked in, I said to Lou, where can I smoke this? I had a big, fat, Mexican, stinky ass joint. And I said, where can I smoke this? And he said, well, go in the bedroom. So I went in the bedroom and I lit it up and I looked over and not on the bed, but beside the bed, almost on the floor was John Lennon. He's sitting there. And so I saw him there and I go, oh. So I offered him a toke of my stinky joint, and he politely refused. He said, no, mate, I'm having immigration problems right now, so I'm not smoking. So I said, okay. And then just then, Rod Stewart walks in the door. And he walks right over to the mirror, and he starts fucking with his hair, fluffing it all up. And so I offered Rod some, and Rod said, no, my voice, I can't smoke that with voice. So I felt kind of weird, so I put the joint out. Then I walked out into the hallway and I bumped into Jack Nicholson. And so now I'm really stoned. And Jack had just done a movie called some army, you can't accept the truth,
what the hell was that called? God damn it, I know it.
Yeah, A Few Young Men or
Few Good Men with Tom Cruise. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jack's standing there. Well, in the movie, there's a scene where Jack combs his hair. Well, he's got no hair, basically. He's got a few strands here and a few strands there. But the scene goes on for like 10 minutes, and all he's doing is combing his hair. And it mesmerized me when I saw the movie. And it stuck in my brain. And so when I saw Jack Nicholson, I said, Jack, I got to ask you a question, man. In the movie, you're combing your hair. And you're combing it, like it's for fucking forever, man. I said, did you write that scene or was that written for you? And he just looked at me and he says, you're in my way. He moved me aside and walked into the bedroom. Oh man, I'll never forget that.
That's great. That's great. Jack Nicholson just like, get up. I gotta go.
Hey, fuck off, little guy.
All right, now I gotta ask you, have you ever smoked with Freddie Mercury from Queen?
No,
okay.
Not that I remember. No, of all the rockers, like George was the only. Let's see, yeah, George. Cheech. I smoked in front of Cheech a few times.
All right, I got 8 backed up questions, so bear with. If you got a question in the chat, bear with me. I'm getting to them as fast as I can. All right, it says, Tommy, what weed would you recommend for Vladimir Putin to smoke?
Oh, Vladimir. Oh, yeah. Let's see. No, I don't think he should smoke weed, man. I think if he got high, man, he would go on. He would not recover, man. Whatever he's doing, whatever booze or whatever it is he's doing, it's making him aggressive. But I don't know, man. Everybody, it's a disaster, blah, blah, blah. Man, I see it as a big win because what's happening, the Ukraine is going to become the most modern country in the world. I'm talking infrastructure because when they rebuild the Ukraine, which they're doing now, by the way, they're going to put the state-of-the-art infrastructure in. So they won't have any power lines above, you know what I'm saying? And windmills and solar heat and all that. And the Ukraine is farmland, by the way. And so when we get our everything together, they're going to be growing hemp fields that are going to rival the world, because hemp is the plant that's going to save the world. Because
That's true. So
we
true.
can
That's
build
true.
with hemp, we can decorate with hemp, we can do so many things. Art is going to move our world. And so what's happening now in the Ukraine is it's being demolished for a purpose, because when they rebuild, it'll be not only beautiful and artistic. Man, I was just in Italy. I was in Umbria, and the reason it's so beautiful there, you know why? They don't have any road signs anywhere. No signs. If you want to put a sign up, you got to go to the government, and they'll cost you a shitload of money. And in the bottom line, it's not worth it. And so that's what the Ukraine's going to end up looking like. They're going to take the best from all around the world and put it in that one area, which is a garden area, man. The Ukraine's going to be so beautiful. And as far as the government goes, it's going to end up with a democracy, much like ours, and everything's going to be fine.
I like it. I'm going to go smoke weed in the Ukraine the second they open up, I swear to God.
Yep,
all right, we got a question from Spicy Punk Rocker. He asks, can you ask him about his experience with the Cheech and Chong mobile game? I played that on my phone and liked it.
Oh, the game. Well, I'm not good at games, man. I got to tell you, because I'm old, you know, and it's not an excuse. It's just that I don't need a reason. I'm more hooked on weed than I am on the thrill of winning a game. So I'm sorry, but I can't help you there, pal.
All right, we got a question from our friend Adele in Australia. She says, does Tommy have any words of wisdom in advocating for the legalization of recreational marijuana? Here in Australia, we are behind the times and only have medicinal.
Well, if you have medicinal, take advantage of it, because marijuana use is medical. It's all medical, even when it's recreational. So what you're saying is that you got to loosen up on the restrictions on recreation, but don't be a stickler for regulations. You know, if it's good for you, do it. If it's bad for you, don't do it. That's the law. That's the rule, and you can't depend on anybody, let alone celebrities, to make any difference in any kind of law. What you want to do is go to movies like Up and Smoke, and like the movies I'm going to be making, and enjoy yourself, and then make the movie maker rich, and then we'll use our money to fix the world, like we're going to do, like we're doing now.
All right, we got a question from Andrew. He asks, did you crash the Golden Girls set when Cheech was on and Blaze with Betty White?
I don't crash anywhere, man. Oh, Betty White was great. I'll tell you what, though. I did a scene with Cloris Leachman, former Miss America contestant or winner. Was she a winner? Anyway, Cloris Leachman and I had a little romantic affair on her show just before she died, and I got to kiss the beautiful lady. And it was sweet. It was tender. It was wonderful. And the thing is, when you close your eyes and you kiss somebody, you can't tell how old they are.
It's true. So if you're out there and you're 30 and you want to go out with a 60-year-old, go ahead and do it. You only live once. All right, we got a question from Mr. El Doof. He's been pining for this all day. El Doof is a big fan of yours. I'm going to embarrass him right now and leave his comment up. So El Doof, you're in your comments on the screen with Tommy Chong, bro. How cool is that? He asks, what do you think of the other stoner films like How High and Half Baked?
Love them. Love them. I love them all. You know, when you're a stoner, you can love everything and everybody. Because I'm looking at movies now that I knew I seen before, but I can't remember shit. So it's like I'm seeing everything all over for the first time, you know, and that's the joy of it. That's the joy of being you know, having a short memory it can be so good, you know, because when you got a short memory, you can't hold a grudge.
It's so true. It's so true. So if you're out there and you're dealing with people like Joey Edibles and Tommy Chong and potheads and stuff like that, send us a reminder. We'll do whatever's in front of us, but it takes us a while because, you know, our short-term memory is just shot to shit. It happens. It's the only downside, one small downside of weed. Everything else is fucking beautiful with weed. Everything else is golden. All right, we got let's see, got a question from Pat. He says, what was the inspiration for Basketball Jones? That's my favorite.
Basketball Jones. Well, there is a song, R&B song called Love Jones. I got Love Jones, baby. And Cheech and I were on our way to a Laker game with Jack Nicholson. And Jack's driving. Cheech is in the back seat. I'm in the passenger side. Jack gets impatient and he starts driving about 70 miles an hour down the wrong side of the road onto oncoming traffic. But because it's near the forum, there's no traffic. But in the meantime, Jack is driving 70 miles down the wrong side of the road. My butt cheeks were gripped so tight, and Cheech is in the back seat and he's singing, "Go Basketball Jones, go Basketball Jones, go Basketball." And it stuck in my head. And so as soon as we could record it, I told Cheech, I said, let's do Basketball Jones. And we wrote, I wrote the lyrics and Cheech sang the song, and we had a great time with it.
All right, cool. McGromby's been asking this a while. I wasn't going to ask this because this is such a beat to death question, but do you have any favorite strains at all, or or just is it basically whatever is in front of you?
It's basically whatever is in front. I never was a connoisseur. I don't know if I said that. I just did another podcast. So I like I said before, I was on the tasting. I was supposed to be a judge for the Cannabis Cup in Amsterdam way back in the day, when they were having Cannabis Cups. But as a judge, I failed miserably, man, because I couldn't remember my name, let alone what strain I smoked, or what it tastes like.
That's so true. I'm the same way, kind of. It's like, there's certain ones that are better than any ones, but basically I just go up in there, whatever's the cheapest and the highest percentage, give me that and I'll smoke it. It's not, we're not picky,
That's it. It's not rocket science, or I guess it is. It gets you there, no matter what it is. But, good health is really, if you want to improve your marijuana smoking, get in the best of health. Get in really good health, because when you're in, when everything's working on you properly, especially your taste buds, everything becomes gigantic. And so if you want to really enjoy your high, get really healthy.
All right, we got a question from Lex. He says, what are your favorite munchies?
I'll tell you, well, basically anything sweet, but I to control the weight and everything else, because the problem when you get affluent, when you can afford a credit card, and if you're a foodie, that's dangerous, because you don't stop eating, you just don't. And so I'm pot kind of puts me there. So one of the munchies that I do is raw carrots in water. I put them in the refrigerator and I chew on them, and because they crunch. And the thing is about munchies, anything that crunches, you activate the salivary glands in your mouth. And that gives you another high, another thing. And so when you activate it with something healthy like carrots, and then your body goes, "Oh, thank you, I need that." And so your body really loves you when you eat something healthy like that, because your body's dying for that nutrition that it needs, the energy to make you work. And that's why they make fruit taste so good. That's why we eat fruit, because it has everything that you need, to survive in a fruit, including the sugar.
Heck yeah. All right, let's see. We got a question from Blue Farm. Nikki from Blue Farm. She says, do you like Kevin Smith, Jay, and Silent Bob?
Oh, yeah. Incredible. Geniuses. You talk about, I've met a lot of really smart people, but these are geniuses. When they come up with the shit they come up with, man, that's genius stuff, man.
Heck yeah. All right. Now, my buddy Andrew, we asked this, we're talking about this offline because we were just talking about like different people. We got to ask him about Pee Wee Herman. So Pee Wee Herman was in the Cheech and Chong's next movie. I just went back and watched some of it because it's been a while since I seen that. And he was funny. He was a front desk clerk and he did his typical Pee Wee stuff. Did Paul Rubens smoke, or are you even allowed to ask about that?
I never really hung with Paul. I imagine he does. I'm quite sure he did. We just had a very, professional relationship. I discovered Paul. He was in a group called the Groundlings.
I remember the Groundlings. Mindy Sterling was telling about that.
Yeah.
They're the
Yep.
theater to Saturday Night Live and all that. The improv troupe.
Yep. Yep. Well, before that, see, I got my start with the committee in the Second City, and and then I met Cheech, and we formed Cheech and Chong. But we came out of that school of improv, and so when I started doing movies, I started going to the improv clubs, and the Groundlings always charged me to get in.
Nice.
They never let me in free, and even after I got, well, Pee Wee for sure, and then the girls, yeah, it was Pee Wee. Man, what a genius! Another genius.
Right. Pee Wee. People nowadays don't remember Pee Wee, man, but back in the 90s, 80s, every morning was Pee Wee's Playhouse, man. We love that show. It was ridiculous, but we loved it.
That was just one of his characters. He had a number of characters that he would become, not just Pee Wee. In fact, we were talking about the character, in the thing. He said, "So, what do you want, Pee Wee?" And I said, "Yeah, we all want Pee Wee."
That's awesome, man. All right, now I got to touch on that 70s show because obviously that's a lot of more people, the more newer guys, that's where we know it from. Now, was there at any point when they were in the circle, did you guys do some partaking while that show was back in the day? I mean, that was not post the jail term with the whatever. We won't talk about that because that was ridiculous. But like your early years, 98, 90, whenever you first started, did you guys smoke weed on that show at all or no?
But they not only did we not smoke weed, they kept me away from Wilmer, who was that guy, because they didn't want that Cheech and Chong thing to start appearing, and so I don't think I ever had a scene with Wilmer alone. They wrote everything. That character that I did was written. I did not ad-lib one line. In fact, I did. I ad-libbed one line. I said, two inches. We're doing a scene with Tim, the tool man, his partner, and that was the only line I ever ad-libbed. Everything else was written. Never got stoned with the kids. Kids never really hung out with the rest of the cast. They were all separate.
All right, now on that, guys, are you going to be in the reboot or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we already shot it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's called The 90s Show.
They thought long and hard about that name, huh? Long and hard about that name.
I'm not supposed to be telling anybody that, but I never got officially told to shut up. So you got a scoop here, dude.
Well, there you go. So breaking news: Tommy Chong is in the 90s Show movie or the 90s Show miniseries.
Reboot.
Reboot. There you go. Reboot. I even said that earlier and I forgot it. It's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Now I don't want you to have to relive jail. It's been beaten to death. I've heard every 1,000 people talk about it, and because it's obvious that you were jailed for all our weed sins. You're like weed Jesus in a way. Let's be real. Now
I like that weed Jesus. Yeah, I like that.
I got to ask you though. I've read that you were bunkmates with Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street. If so, is that true? And how awesome was that guy?
Yeah, Jordan and I, we shared a cubicle, and we became really good friends. He was my entertainment at night. He would tell me stories that became the Wolf of Wall Street.
Nice.
And I helped him write his book. And I helped him write the book, The Wolf of Wall Street. I gave him some advice, and he took it. And obviously, it worked. And he was. Jordan's one of those. He's a genius, but he's on the other side, kind of, or was.
Right.
Now he's straight as can be, and he's into Bitcoin and the NFTs.
What's your take on? Let me ask you that while we're on that. What's your take on Bitcoin NFTs? I don't get any of it. I think it's all bunk. But what do you think about that stuff?
We're into it up to our elbows.
Okay.
Cheech and I are into it. It's incredible. It's a new way of counting currency, of making anything valuable. Because what makes anything valuable? They're one of a kind. See, you can only get. I would describe it like Picasso. Later in his life, when he ate at a restaurant or bought anything, he never paid for it. His signature was worth more than what he was paying for. And so whenever he left his signature, that was currency. And so that's what an NFT is. NFT is a one-of-a-kind object. Like here, this is a Tommy Chong joint holder. It's going to become an NFT. And it's a one-of-a-kind. You can't get one like this anywhere in the world. That is Tommy Chong's. And so when you put that on the market, it's like the art world. You know, what makes a Van Gogh or what makes a Rembrandt so special? Well, it's what people are willing to pay for it.
Oh yeah.
And so that's what we're dealing with, and we're dealing with a modern day currency, you know, because people are, sometime in the near future they're going to be laughing at us, going to say they used to use paper for currency, really, paper. With a printing on it? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Well, it's kind of funny when you think about that, though, because, like, I mean, weed was the main reason for paper currency, why people wanted it. Now, if weed was legal and we could just, cash app each other back and forth cash, you kind of really don't need the need for paper currency. I mean, the only thing it's there for is, what's it there for? It's just tax corruption. I mean, we don't want to get started. Actually, we got a question about the government. Captain Meets Avengers asked, Tommy, are politicians just really crooks?
Some are. I would say 30%. I would say 30, 70. I would say 30% are crooked. And that goes for police, that goes for politicians, that goes for judges. We're human. See? And we're not all supposed to be on the same team. You see. And there's extremes. See, we live in a physical world. And for every action, there's a reaction. For every up, there's a down. For every right, there's a left. I mean, that's a physical world. And so we can be on the good side, or we can be on the evil side. Either way, what we're doing here is we're getting experience. And one thing you got to remember, and I'll throw this in free, is that we are eternal beings. Our souls, our spirits have always existed. There's never been a time when our souls did not exist. But we're all separate individual souls, and we've been this for beyond eternity. Okay. And that's who we are. Now, we're not supposed to know this. I'm a spoiler, by the way. And when you have me on, I'll spoil the shit out of a lot of, false claims, like people think that, their religion is more powerful than the other religion, bullshit. The word God means God in any language you want to talk about. And if you read scripture, there was God. There was only God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. And so when they say Allah means God, whatever they say, the muse means God. See, and the secret of life, you want to know this? I'll give you this one free too.
What's that, bro?
If you keep your mind on God, that's the thought of God in your mind, He will perfect that which concerns you. In other words, if you're painting a picture and all you think in your mind, you think of God, the word God, and that painting is going to be of God. That photography is going to be of God. That song is going to be of God. That poetry, that prose, the literature, whatever you create is going to be of God, because you had God, the muse, whatever you want to call it, heaven, whatever. It's on your mind. Now, because humans cannot think two thoughts at the same time. So you have a choice. You can think of whatever you want to think, no matter where you are. You can be tortured, and your mind. They can't control that mind of yours. You see, your mouth will get you on all sorts of trouble or get you out of trouble, but your mind will be on whatever you think of. So the most powerful thought in the universe, the most powerful word in the universe is God. And you keep your mind on God, he will perfect that which concerns you. Think about it. If you're going to go rob a bank and you got your mind on God, you're going to do a good job.
That's a good joke. That's true. I guess nobody ever goes from a church right to a bank. They just kind of usually go from the opium den right to the bank and get more opium and shit. They're not trying to pop it up. That's great. Now, let me along that line. What is your take on like weed in like the Asia and just the different Muslim parts of the world and Africa, stuff like that? Do you think they'll embrace it like the Western world, or what's up with that?
But they were the ones that started it. It was India that really started documenting it. It's always been here. Weed's always been here, and people have always used it. It's our connection, you know, and every culture on the planet, the roots go back to that plant. Think about it, man. You can wear it, you can eat it.
It's true. Smoke it.
You can smoke it. You can do all these things. You can build a house with it. You can do everything you need to do with it. And when you cut it down, it grows right back up, bigger than ever. You can rope. You can make houses, everything. I was on the other podcast. We're talking about the word canvas. Comes from the word cannabis.
Oh, okay.
Because canvas is made out of hemp. The original canvas was hemp threads made into a flat surface that you can paint on. See, so everything goes back to this magical plant. In the Bible, Moses talked to the burning bush. Well, I know of one burning bush that talks to you.
That's true. That's actually a good insight. So you're saying like eventually, this is kind of what I think how it's going to be is like that once people get marijuana and they have access to it and they see how it expands their mind, helps them be a better human, etc. I think that a lot of these religions will kind of embrace it into their thing, and all the hate will be dropped. I think that's the biggest aspect about weed that people don't realize, Tommy, is that it just makes you drop like so much hate, like so much unnecessary hate in your soul. You know what I mean?
70-30. 70-30. 70% of us will be with it. 30% of me go, oh, that's bullshit. I don't believe that shit. You know, Trump was stolen. He won, but you know, they stole it from him. You know, that's 30%. That'll never change. By the way, that'll never change. The only change that we can make is within ourselves. That's all. And that's with everything. That's with parenting. That's with relationships. You know, if you're pissed off at your wife and she's pissed off at you or whatever, the only person you can change is yourself.
That's true. That's true. Can't change how she feels. That's a very good point.
You change yourself. And if you become that lovable guy that she meant, then she's going to change. She's going to go, oh, okay. Because people will only react to what they're given. You know, you throw that ball really hard at them, they'll throw it really back hard at you. You throw a little soft, little easy to catch, and that's what you get back. And that's the way life is.
All right, we got a question from EB, the Eclectic Beard. I'm going to twist this question a little bit because, I mean, if we're talking about your comedy inspirations, that could go back to the 30s. But I'm going to ask you a couple of your inspirations, and who do you think are some of the people that you've inspired down the line that you like Bill Burr, any guys like that?
Oh, yeah. Well, the people that inspired me were Lenny Bruce was my biggest inspiration, because I got high and listened to Lenny Bruce at the same night. You know, so I've always been it's not so much his act as much as what he was saying, you know, the freedoms that we had, you know, and so Lenny freed us. And then after that, then I started, you know, Red Fox, Richard Pryor. I got to know these guys, and we had some great times together, and Chris Rock and Kevin Hart and all these guys. A new guy called Earthquake. Whew, he's really funny. Because, you know, comedy, it's more than a profession, or it's it's really using the world as a therapist.
Oh yeah. That's
You
one
know?
thing I noticed so about so many of these local comics, and I'm not going to go on a rant about local comics. There's a lot of haters in the local comedy. People, there's too many people aren't willing to talk to each other, whatever. But like, there's a lot of like you just said, mental. They try to use it as therapy, and then sometimes I think what some of these comics do, because you're a comic, I've been out there done comedy before. I think a lot of these guys beat themselves up unnecessarily to get laughs, and I don't think that's healthy for them up here, Tommy. I don't.
It's all good. It's all good. You got to do what you got to do. The good thing is that they're doing it.
Exactly. If you're out there, you want to start comedy, just do it. It's the only way to do it.
One time, when Cheech and I were starting out, we were with a group of comedians at a place called Canopo's, Gary Canopo's. It was a steakhouse. And the son of the guy that owned it, Gary, wanted to do comedy there. So he set up a mic and a little thing, and with people eating their steak, and we're doing comedy. And but there was one guy. Oh God! Oh, he was an English comic, had a bowler hat. No one understood his act at all, and so he would go on first. But Cheech and I, and then because Cheech and I were, we had a hell of an act. We would go on last. And so we would get there early enough to go watch, Digby. Anyway, to see him. No one else would be in the place. He'd be on the stage by himself, and Cheech and I would get in the audience. And our laughter threw his timing off. Because he was so used to doing an act to an empty house that when we started laughing at his jokes, he got a little confused.
That was me the first couple of times. You tell some jokes and it's like crickets. Okay, we'll move along. But then you do your joke, you're like, yes. You do the rest of the show with those two guys who laugh at your one joke. Totally like that.
Yeah. We all go through it. There's no shortcut. There's no shortcut to the top.
All right. A couple people wanted to ask me about the Trailer Park Boys. I will admit, I've never seen the show. I'm not opposed to it. There's only so much time in the day, and I don't know, whatever. But we had a question that says, does Tommy think that the Trailer Park Boys went downhill after selling out to Netflix?
Oh, I have no idea. No idea. Everybody goes downhill. It doesn't matter who you sell them for. That's the slope is designed that way. That's why, crying up to the top. The minute you relax, you slide back down. See, so no, and you don't stay at the top. By the way, you may stay there, but no one gets. There'll be a new mountain. So we all slide down. I don't know. I'm with you. I watched a few segments that I was in. Other than that, I'm not I wasn't a trailer. Not like I was with Second City and what's the Canadian one too. To C something TV.
CSTV or something like that?
CS, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. All right, we got a question from Sam. He's in the UK. If Tommy could jam with any musician, who would you pick?
Keith Richards.
Oh, nice.
Keith Richards.
Now, have you ever smoked with Keith? Could he handle his weed?
I've never smoked with any of the Stones.
Okay.
In fact, I was in a club one time when the Stones were at the bottom of their career. The hippie thing had come out, and the Stones were like, and they were playing into different third-class venues. And they were booked in a venue above this after-hours club that I had. And the same night, James Brown was bigger than anything. He was playing at the Forum or the big arena. And that night, all the James Brown musicians came over to my club, and we're on stage jamming out. And the Stones finished their gig, and they came down, and they were at the door. It was Ron Wood and... was it Charlie? I think it was just Ron. Anyway, they're waving at me, and my brother had no clue who anybody was, and he was the bouncer, and so he wasn't letting anybody in. There was no room for anybody anyway, and Ron Woods was waving at me, and I kind of kind of turned away from him. But the reason I picked Keith is because we both started learning Bo Diddley and all the Muddy Waters tunes right in the beginning, and I love those riffs. And I know Keith knows every one of them, and we could have so much fun playing up. And Mick on harmonica, yeah. I mean, that's who I'd like to jam. I have a blues jam because that's the only thing I can really play.
Okay, now I got to ask you about these dancing shows. The wife watches them a little bit. I watch them every now and then. I'm not the biggest fan, but it is what it is. First off, did you already know how to dance, or do they have to teach you to dance to be on these shows? What's up with that?
No, I was a salsa dancer. It took me a couple of years to learn salsa. And the reason I learned was my wife was doing ballroom. She still does ballroom, but one night she started going out with a little short skirt on, and it was late at night. And where are you going? She said, "I'm going salsa dancing." I said, "Oh," and so I found out how to dance. And then she did a show with a partner, and so I said, "I better learn to dance. I better learn this dance," and so I learned it.
All right. Now I got some random questions here. Now, who is the oldest person you've ever smoked weed with?
Good question. Me. I don't know. I don't know too many people older than me.
That's awesome, man. All right. Now, my daughter wanted to ask you this question about the Masked Singer. Now, that was the pineapple one, I think. Yeah. Now, do you get to see who the other singers are in the dressing room, or is it like a separate locked up area? How's that work? You're muted.
Yeah, just totally. No, you don't see anybody.
Oh, wow. You don't see anybody like in backstage just walking around. No shit.
No, it's horrible. I was so glad to get kicked off that show because you're isolated. They don't want anybody to know who you are, especially the other singers.
Right. That's awesome. All right. Now, was it the first one or the second one? You said you got rectal cancer because you didn't get to smoke on the show. Was that the Dancing with the Stars one?
No. Dancing with the Stars was. They wouldn't let me do pot kisses. When they introduced me right at the end, hey, Tommy Chong and Peter, I'd throw these pot kisses to the audience.
They won't let you do that because they're that ate up.
And they made me do it over. They made me do another entrance because they couldn't. ABC would not show pot kisses.
That's for damn ridiculous. Well, ABC is they're networks. I mean, what's your take on all this? Do you think the underground YouTube and all these shows like this could come back and take over? Because let's be real, people are just sick of commercials and corporate groupthink and just crap. There's a lot of this.
Well, you're never going to get rid of commercials. But you can lessen the corporate. The NFT people, the crowd and the Bitcoin crowd, they're making a big gains. And the way it is now, like our podcast, now we don't need networks to do what we're doing. And so I see a big, no, it's not going to come back because, just like, a plant that grows up and you cut it down, and is it going to come back? No,
it's gone. Gone forever.
You have to grow another one.
All right, now you don't have to answer this if you don't want to because you don't want to go to jail again. But have you ever smoked weed with any sitting or former U.S. president?
Not yet. I'm looking forward to smoking with Joe Biden.
Okay.
I'd love to get high with Joe and Jill, his wife too. And we wouldn't smoke. I got some breast strips.
Okay.
And it's like smoking a joint. And so you just have to put a breast strip on and boom, you're good to go.
Now, how long, this is a good point. Maybe we could knock this out right now. How long do you think it would take you to get a hold of President Biden? If you're like, hey, agent, or, pull some strings, give me a hold of the president. And you got to pitch him personally, like, look, President Biden, Mr. Stir, you got to legalize this weed. You got to get off the Schedule 1. You got to do it now. It's going to save the world. How long do you think this could take? Is this possible?
He already has that message. He knows that message. It's all timing, by the way. All timing. If, for instance, if you're wondering why Trump isn't in jail now, it's all a timing. It's called midterms. And they're going to dangle him like a piece of meat over a hornet's nest for until the midterms. And then after the midterms, after the Democrats take control of the Senate and the House and the presidency, then then Trump will probably go to Gitmo. I think that's where the jail they should put him in.
Really? You think that's going to happen? Okay.
Yeah.
It seems like, because I follow the news casually. I mean, it gets depressing after a while. You can't really follow network news because that's how it is. But like, I mean, it seems like every other week there's another, oh, this is the last thing. After this, it's all over. And then it seems like they just keep pushing the thing down the sand farther. And it's like, so do you think they're going to probably try to pull the trigger on that before, proverbial trigger, obviously, before the
No. Everything's going to lead up. Everything's for the midterms. This abortion leak, that's for the midterms. You know, everything's planned. You know, everybody thinks that Democrats are, they're not paying attention. Democrats, you got the smartest minds. We're the winners. We won. We got the smartest minds in America, in the world, basically, on our payroll, telling us what to do, making the moves. And one of the moves is being underdogs. You always want to be an underdog. Now, you need an enemy. You definitely need an enemy, and we're propping up our enemy like crazy, you know, and so it's all going to work out at the ballot box. That's where it's going to work out, and that's when you're going to see, oh my God, it's another upset, you know. Oh, I can't believe that this happened and that happened, you know. I could get to Biden. I could get to. I turned down what do you call it? What do you call it when you get pardoned? I turned down a pardon from Obama.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, Cheech talked to Obama. Cheech was there. He got given a medal or something for being a Chicano, and so when he was there, he told Obama, you know, about my predicament, and Obama said, "Put his name in. I'll pardon him today." You know, but then I thought about it. I said, "No, man, that's my ace in the hole, you know. I gotta keep that. I'm not gonna play that one until I don't have to."
Well, that's your street cred right there, because you'd be like, "Look, I got a criminal record out here. You know, nothing got erased." Exactly.
That's right. And when I get pardoned, I want to get some money for my for them messing with me and taking money that they shouldn't have taken, you know, because I didn't break any law, really.
You didn't. That was a total witch hunt. You were selling glass. Weren't you just selling glass, and the rest of you were selling glass?
It wasn't my company. It was my son's company. But they threatened to go after him, put him in jail, you know. And so that's how they got me in jail. But that was okay because, like I said, the street cred. Look at me now, man. I mean, right. with the NFTs and the Bitcoin and the podcast and all that, man. Whew.
That's awesome, man.
We're cooking, dude.
All right, we got a question from Jason Cleveland. He's my buddy out in Washington. He says, "How many grandchildren do you have?"
6, I think, and 2 great-grandchildren.
Oh, damn, great-grandchildren. Geez.
Great-grandchildren.
I guess that's not that far out of the realm. I'm a grandfather myself, so if I do the math, it's not that far. That's cool. How often do you stay out in LA still the whole time? You pretty much gonna retire out there?
Do I what?
Are you going to stay pretty much going to retire out in LA then, would you say?
Retire?
Yeah.
Oh,
or live all your days.
You never want to retire, man. I tell everybody all the time, man, you work harder when you're retired because you got no excuse. You know, hey, you're retired. You want to watch the kids? Hey, you're retired. You want to build my house? Hey, drive me over here? No, I'll never retire, man.
That's awesome, man.
No, I got a 20-year plan. I want to have my own movie company, and I want to do a 20-year series. Really, the life and adventures of Cheech and Chong and their ancestors. I want to go way back to the beginning, you know, because I'm mixed. I found out I got 8% American Native, along with the Chinese, the Scotch, the Irish, and probably a few things more, but mostly Chinese. And so I want to document and show the world what really happened, you know, during those times, you know, because like when you know they had Columbus discovering the world, they left out the part where he would chop off people's hands if they weren't delivering gold to him, you know. And then I found a book where the Chinese were in Canada before Columbus was in America. And the Chinese what they were doing, they were in New Brunswick, smeltering gold. What they did, they built a Chinese settlement in New Brunswick, which is still there, by the way, the outline of it. And what they did, instead of taking the gold ore and bringing it back to China, they just they smeltered it, made gold in Canada. And they taught the natives a written language. And so of the native culture, the Northwest culture, the natives in the Northwest had a written language. So the Chinese not only came and used the locals, they taught them a skill.
Nice. Now, not many people may not realize that you're actually not a boomer. You're predate the boomers. Now, I got to ask you about these people. Now, what is it with baby boomers, especially? I'm Gen Xers, millennials, Gen Z, whatever. But like for some reason, baby boomers are so cranky all the time. Why are they so cranky? And how are we going to get the weed message to these baby boomers? What's the deal there, Tommy?
70-30. 70-30.
70%. I think all ages across the board then. Okay.
70-30. You're going to get cranky because you can't have happy without cranky. Can you imagine how weird everything would look if everybody was happy? And if everybody was happy, you know what they would be saying? I'm happier than he is.
Right, but Bill Maher used to say, he goes, I only post on Twitter because if I post good morning, we say it's good morning in your privileged world, so like, exactly. That's awesome, man. Now, so what is, you prefer, have you ever tried a strain that someone tried pitching to you and you just didn't like it? Or is you just kind of like, it's just like whatever?
I've never been the kind of guy to test anything, because I got really nothing to compare it to.
That's a good point.
And the only thing that I ever saw when I was in, back in the Cannabis Cup days, was that it was the people that grew these strains that were promoting them. And they were telling you, oh, it tastes of blueberry and you can feel the, all that stuff there. Well, with me, THC is THC. It doesn't matter how you get it, And when the people say, how do you know when you're too stoned? Well, when I get nauseous, then I say I'm too stoned. When I can't get out of a chair, then I'm saying that I'm too stoned. It's happened. When I can't find my car, and thank God I can't, I'm too stoned. Or when I fucked up my safe. I don't know how to open my safe now because I tried to do something. Or my keys. Here's the best one. My car keys, I wear them around my neck.
Hey, don't tell anybody this, but I leave my keys in my car because I forget them all the time. I don't know where I'll take that part out because I don't want you to come steal them. Don't be coming over my house and steal my key out tonight if you're out there.
I literally hung my keys on my wife's ballet exercise bar because I could not miss it, right? I spent 2 days looking for those keys and walking by that ballet bar every day. Crazy. That's when you're too stoned.
Oh yeah. Now, what's your opinion on law enforcement and marijuana? Now, I contend that they should be, not only should they be allowed to smoke, I think they should be required to smoke because if they're allowed to smoke and they're smoking, they understand the humanity aspect of it. What's your take on that?
It's not about really. It's not about whether they should or should not. Because you got to remember, weed is only illegal because of when they raised the prohibition on alcohol. You see, when they stopped the prohibition on alcohol, there was a lot of government law enforcement that were out of a job. Basically, they had no income coming in because that bootlegging business, being paid off and what they could grab and steal and everything else, that was a billion dollar business. And so when they came up with the weed, Hearst came in, well, then how about let's make marijuana illegal because, it's called marijuana, Mexican, make you want to kill your kids, kill your parents with an axe. And so they made that illegal for law enforcement because now they can hold them like they did. And look what it did. It created the cartels, created a billion dollar business because they were really charging a tax on something that people really needed, you know. And that's why right now, the way they got legalization coming, you know, they're scrambling, you know, because for every legal joint sold out of a dispensary, there's 10 sold out of the back door illegally.
Yep.
So what you want to do is make it so available to everybody that, you know, like the 20% tax plan, you know, that Biden wants to do across the board, everybody, you know, and that makes a lot of sense, and it make a lot of things. They should do the same thing with weed, you know, just leave it alone. You know,
Spike Cohen, he was the libertarian candidate for president or vice president. He told me it should be as common as onions. Like however the thing is on onions, whatever the rules are for that, make the same for weed. It makes no sense. It's totally true. Totally true.
Yeah. You know, when I was in jail, we had a garden. It was mainly for the food bank, because technically we could not use the food to feed the inmates, even though it was grown in the inmate structure. And you know, the food itself, we ate better than the people on the outside. We were healthier inside because we had control over everything, especially the price. I ate incredible food every night, man. It was so good. And that could be done. You know, we could stamp out world hunger, all that. It can be done and will be done. We will do it.
Also, you were working in the garden out there. I read that you guys were doing like a vegetarian diet or something with the garden.
Yeah. Well, no, not pure vegetarian. We'd eat chicken. We couldn't get fish, so it was always chicken. But yeah, the vegetarian, it's the best food, man. And then we would like run the track every day, work out, eat properly. And then when I got released, I had a haircut. It took a 2-hour haircut. This Chicano barber, man, he made me look like a movie star. When I come out of the prison, we got a video of it. And I come out, you know, my wife's waiting for me, and she looked at me and goes, "Whoa, I had a tan, a great haircut, you know, healthy." It was like it was like a resort, you know, a health resort.
What's your take on vaping? Do you like the flower? Do you like smoking, vaping, edibles? What's your take on the vaping thing too?
I'm not a vapor. Cheech is, but I'm not. No, okay. I tried to vape. I couldn't do it. Same as bongs. I used to make bongs, and I'm not a bong fan. I'm a joint man now. I'm back to joints, and the reason is because I made these joint holders, and they also work as a like a cigarette, you know, a joint.
Oh, okay, I got you.
To smoke out of it. And the great thing is that when you set it down, you know, it burns upward, and then it'll go out by itself. And so this is going to be an NFT, by the way.
We actually had a question about that. What NFTs do you have coming up?
This is one of them, and then we got a whole homies over on the other podcast, but Cheech and Chong homies, and there's a few more, but you have to go to cheechandchong.com, I guess, to find out more about the. It's on the internet anyway, you know. Oh, yeah, I can't keep up with all that shit.
All right, now I got to ask you. This is a totally off the wall question, but say you never smoked weed, and you never found comedy, and you just stayed in Canada. What do you think your life would have been like?
Let's see. I would probably found something, you know, a club or something. I would have. No, I wouldn't. I can't even imagine it, man, because you know, an education is always something to fall back on, and the only thing I needed was a mattress. Because I needed something soft to fall back on, and it was always a couch. in some girl's apartment or some friend's apartment. I learned the art of couch living. So I would never have stayed in Calgary. There was no room I got kicked out of Calgary. Did I tell you that story?
No, let's hear it. What happened there?
We had a band. It was a black band mostly. We had a star football player, lead singer, Tommy Milton. Bernie Sneed was the piano player. Maxine Sneed was his sister, my first wife, my first love. And Floyd Sneed is a drummer. Ended up being the drummer of the Three Dog Night.
Okay.
Remember that group?
Oh, yeah.
Floyd Sneed. So that was our band, not Floyd, but that was our band. And in order to play in Calgary, brilliant me, devised this idea of forming a teen club. And so we formed this teen club, and the idea of the teen club was to hold dances every Saturday at the Legion Hall. And the teen club would hold the dance and pay the band, and then put the money aside for the teenage activity. Well, little did I know that I found a way to bypass the current nightclub laws, which they never had any. See, and there was so the Legion Hall was becoming so popular Saturday nights that it was attracting every badass person near Calgary. And then after they would dance, they were perfectly behaved in the dance, but then they would go out on the street and just cause havoc, just go to parties where they weren't invited, go to girls would be babysitting somewhere and someone would find out, then the hordes would go over there. Yeah. And so the city police, the mayor, the city attorney, the chief of police had a meeting, called us all, the Shades, the band, into the meeting. And they said, we think you guys should leave town for the Christmas holidays. Go on the road, get out of town. They literally kicked us out of town. And we looked at each other and said, yeah, let's go to Vancouver. And so we ended up in Vancouver, never came back.
That's awesome, man. All right, we got a question from Thomas Metal. He says, has Tommy ever met Joe Walsh of the Eagles?
Yes. I had a few good moments with Joe. One was kind of funny because he was on the Howard Stern show, and I walked up and Howard, I got on the show and Howard introduced me to Joe Walsh, and I said, that's not Joe Walsh. And Joe got all pissed off, man. He got really defensive and everything. And I said, nah, Joe Walsh, I knew, was passed out with his head. He's drunk, that's not Joe Walsh. He's too sober to be Joe. And it was a joke. But Joe, when he responded, he really believed, he didn't catch the joke. He thought that I really didn't think it was him,
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, we got a question from Fox 8 Ball. It says, have you ever watched arm wrestling before?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I was an arm wrestler to some extent, back in the day. Our piano player, Bernie, he was a musclehead too, and a street fighter. He would find a tough guy, whatever town we're in, the tough guys always find each other and go in the alley and duke it out, see who had the best. But Bernie used to arm wrestle.
That's awesome. Yeah. All right, I got a question from Mr. Gromby. He says, have you ever smoked with the dude, the Big Lebowski, Jeff Bridges?
I haven't smoked with Jeff. I had some nice moments with Bo Bridges, Jeff's brother.
Okay.
But for some reason, we haven't crossed paths yet or crossed joints yet. But that's on a bucket list too, by the way.
Oh, nice. All right, we got a question here. It says, did you ever get a chance to meet Jack Kokorak or any of the Beat Generation people?
Timothy Leary was the only guy that I hung with. I got to know Tim really well. Didn't meet the rest of them. They're all the Deadhead people. I never met the Dead until until Jerry was gone, really. Then I met a few of their people. The drummer, I forget his name, But no, no. The San Francisco crowd. Never met him. No, we were the LA crowd.
All right, nice. Speaking of San Francisco, did you ever get to hang out with the Grateful Dead or Jerry Garcia?
Nope. I used to do a bit about Jerry because a lot of people would compare Jerry and I together. You know, we had a thing. No, I never met Jerry or any of the Dead, but I'm a big fan now. I am. Yeah.
Heck yeah,
I won't take acid without Dead music playing in the back.
Heck yeah. All right, we got our standard question. This is the running joke on the show. Beatles or Queen? Who do you like better?
Oh, Beatles. I like Queen, but what was it? Was it We Will Rock You?
And then The Show Must Go On was a good one too. And then
yeah. No, I like him separately, you know. But the Beatles, oh my God, their songwriting,
it's great, right? It's great.
Good.
All right, do you have any Snoop Dogg stories? Have you ever met Snoop Dogg or smoked with Snoop Dogg?
Many times. Snoop. The only trouble with Snoop is that don't hand him your favorite joint. You know, if you got something that you so special, don't give it to Snoop because you won't get it back. You know, I've never smoked with Snoop where I handed him a joint and I got it back. It disappears and it just stays with Snoop. You know.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, so that's basically true. He played his character in Half Baked because remember in Half Baked he just grabbed it. He's like, "Hold on, I'm almost done." And they gave it back to Dave Chappelle. Oh, that's another one. Have you ever smoked with Dave Chappelle? You ever met Dave Chappelle?
I was in Half Baked.
You were in Half Baked. What were you in Half Baked?
I was a convict.
No shit! Wow.
What they call me? Nasty Nate.
Oh gosh, I gotta watch that. Damn it, I'm an idiot. I gotta watch. I'll tell you what time I was trying to go back and watch Up in Smoke, but I don't have a DVD player anymore, and I couldn't find it on any of the services I had. It's not on like HBO or any of them. You gotta pay for it.
Not yet. Yeah, that's another thing I want to do is get my own Cheech and Chong channel. You know. Yeah.
Oh well, could you start? Are you on a? I know you got on like your TikTok and all the other ones. You got a YouTube channel at all?
Not yet. No, we're getting close. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because these man, we've had 70, 80 people watching live, and I'll tell you what, man, I've had the most we had before this was probably like 30 or 40. So you got double the lives for
yeah.
I'd like to thank you, man.
My pleasure. Yeah. I gotta go. I got someone calling now, actually.
Okay, well, appreciate it, my friend. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Chong. It's been an honor. Always. Yeah. If you see it on Twitter, retweet it, everybody. Love you guys. Subscribe. Come back next Friday. We got Jumpin' Jim Brunzel is going to be on at 9:30. So I appreciate it, Tommy. We'll talk to you guys later.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, bye now.
Bye-bye.